Hurricane Tammy is getting stronger as it creeps towards the Caribbean islands. Good evening, I'm Mike Nasa with this 11 p.m. Friday night update. It's October 20th, 2023, and we have a late season hurricane that is going to make landfall or at least impact directly some of the Caribbean islands of the Leeward Islands and potentially the Virgin Islands. That's Hurricane Tammy. There you can see it on the satellite imagery bursting, bringing heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and high swells. Here is the latest on Hurricane Tammy as of 11 p.m. Atlantic time. Tammy was at 14.7 north, 60.2 west. Winds up to 80 miles per hour, so it's a little stronger. It's moving west-northwest at 9, the pressure 992 millibars. Now, as of 11 p.m. Atlantic time, that location of 14.7 north, 60.2 west puts it about 55 miles east of the island of Martinique and 135 miles southeast of the island of Guadeloupe. Now, the forecast has it moving in a pretty steady northwest direction from here on out. We've been waiting for that turn. It looks like it's finally starting it, and that should bring it over a lot of the islands. Hurricane impacts quite possible. And then by Sunday night, it should spit out here into the Atlantic and away from the Caribbean slowly, and then by Tuesday and Wednesday, begin to accelerate as it turns to the northeast. However, heavy rainfall is going to be a high threat along areas there of the islands and even up towards Puerto Rico over the next couple of days. Now, we have a lot of watches and warnings I'm going to go through here for Tammy. A hurricane warning is in effect for Guadeloupe, Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, St. Martin, and St. Barthélemy. All of those islands are currently under a hurricane warning. We have a hurricane watch in effect for Dominica. The hurricane is going to get pretty close to Dominica over the next couple of hours, and throughout Saturday morning, we got to be very careful there. And we have a tropical storm warning in effect for Dominica, Saba, and St. Eustatius, and a tropical storm watch for Martinique. Now, the winds extend outward 25 miles, the hurricane force winds, and so if it gets too close to an island, even if the eye doesn't cross that island, you could have hurricane force winds. 125 miles are how far the winds extend for tropical storm force, and all of this is going to be impacting the islands of the Caribbean Sea. Now, here's a interactive map from the National Hurricane Center as of 11 p.m. There's the track through time. It's been moving much further west than anybody thought. Remember, a couple of days ago, we were thinking it might turn and miss the islands, but it just continued to barrel to the west. Even at the end here, it still is moving west-northwest. We expect that turn, but it's really going to be a close call how much it gets into the islands, but an impact is no doubt underway. Tropical storm force winds are definitely extending outward. Right now, the wind radii, the the initial wind radii, the hurricane force winds, mostly north and east of the eye, and I'll show you that on radar in a minute. Now, the official track, it could be anywhere within this cone. However, the official track brings it over areas of Guadeloupe as a hurricane sometime, when is this? So this is about 8 a.m., 9, 10. I'd say sometime mid-morning Eastern time tomorrow, Saturday morning, and then over areas there of Antigua. And that would be sometime tomorrow afternoon or evening, straight over Antigua. And then we could see Barbuda on the right side of the hurricane getting an impact. And then it should eventually move on out, but it could get pretty close here to St. Martin. So again, St. Martin, Anguilla, areas there of Barbuda, Antigua, Guadeloupe, even Dominica. You guys are in the cone down here. The hurricane's not too far from you. All of you need to have your hurricane plan in place and be ready to take action. Here's the latest radar imagery. Note the eye of the hurricane. It's right in here, and it's been wrapping up and trying to wrap up better. It's not in an ideal environment, but it's good enough to have become a hurricane. And again, the hurricane force winds are within that area I just circled. So this is Dominica right here to the west. So Dominica, you're pretty darn close to the eye of the hurricane. Dominica's actually up here. This is Martinique. So right now the hurricane is 55 miles east of Martinique, moving in the general direction of Dominica. Now, if it turns more like the Hurricane Center thinks, you might get scraped, and then we'll have a direct impact on Martinique, on Guadeloupe. These islands get very confusing. So right now, Martinique, you are closest to the eye. Dominica, you're in the path, but we do expect it to turn right in the direction of Guadeloupe. So again, a lot of heavy weather, especially on the north and east side. The strongest hurricane winds are right in this area here on the northern side of the eye of the hurricane. Here's a beautiful infrared satellite imagery. Note the bursting pattern there. It's strengthening. It's trying. It's not in an ideal environment. Note the wind shear here blowing off towards the north. That's kind of impeding the western side. See, it's not getting as much outflow. It's not fanning out as well on the western side. And so this convection is bursting in response to that, kind of fighting back. But those bursts are allowing those winds to strengthen, and we're now up to a moderate range Category 1 hurricane, and we don't want to see it get any stronger than that, because by the time it reaches a peak intensity, it could be interacting or directly impacting some of these islands here. The key messages for Hurricane Tammy as of 11 p.m. from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. Number 1, hurricane conditions are expected in portions of the Leeward Islands by late tonight through Saturday. Tropical storm conditions should begin overnight tonight in portions of the Lesser Antilles. We have all the watches and warnings out that I went through. Again, it's going to be a very gusty night, only getting worse in the areas of the islands there. Secondly, as I mentioned before, heavy rain for the Windward, Leeward Islands through Saturday morning. That's going to spread into the British and U.S. Virgin Islands and eastern Puerto Rico as early as Sunday. We could have isolated flash and urban flooding and isolated mudslides in areas of higher terrain. In areas of Puerto Rico, even Hispaniola, we don't think it'll get that far west, but they're all very susceptible to mudslides from heavy rains. And as the hurricane departs, we could see some banding on the east side, causing rainfall even after the eye moves through. Number 3, a storm surge could produce coastal flooding in areas of onshore winds as the center of Tammy moves near or over the Leeward Islands. Near the coast, the surge will have large and dangerous waves on top of that. So again, it's not going to be a good thing. Right now, if the hurricane goes directly over you, wherever the winds are onshore, that water will pile up. If the hurricane moves to the west of you, you'll be on the right side. So let's say the hurricane follows the exact track and it misses Dominica, goes over Guadeloupe, then it passes over Antigua, and then, even though it goes to the west of Barbuda, you get in the right side and you have onshore flow. You could almost have worse conditions than if it moved right over you. So again, when you're dealing with little islands like this, little harbors, it could be very, very dangerous very quickly, so stay away from the water. Look at this blob blowing up here. This is a lot of heavy rain, and this could be impacting areas there of Barbados and even St. Lucia, Martinique, well away from where the center of Hurricane Tammy ends up making landfall. In the Eastern Pacific, we have Hurricane Norma. We've been watching Norma. It was a Category 4 hurricane 24, 30 hours ago. Then it weakened to a Category 3. Then it weakened to a Category 2. Then the recon was flying out there and saw it was a Category 3 again. Still a major hurricane as of 9 p.m. Mountain Time. It was at 20.8 north, 109.9 west. Winds of 120 miles per hour. It's a very powerful Category 3 hurricane. It's crawling north-northwest at 9. And again, it should weaken but still make landfall sometime Saturday night as a hurricane on the Baja, and we have a hurricane warning in effect for the southern portion of the Baja of Mexico. And again, the Mexican coastline is also going to deal with it as it makes landfall as a tropical storm by Monday. But look at this motion. Friday night to Monday night, not a very far distance, and that means a lot of heavy rainfall. Norma is expected to bring life-threatening hurricane conditions and a dangerous storm surge to portions of the far southern Baja California peninsula within that hurricane warning area on Saturday. Preparations to protect life and property should be rushed to completion. Secondly, as I mentioned, heavy rains from Norma will begin to impact the far southern portions of Baja California Sur tonight, continuing through Sunday, with heavy rains reaching areas of Sinaloa on Saturday. And this rainfall will produce flash and urban flooding along with possible mudslides in areas of higher terrain. So they're dealing with this in the Baja just like we're dealing with it in the Leeward Islands. Number 3, Norma is forecast to approach the west coast of Mexico as a tropical storm Sunday night. They have a tropical storm watch for that area. Hopefully it won't be a hurricane, but again, a lot of heavy rainfall. There's the infrared satellite. Norma was a lot of cold cloud tops. It seems to have weakened a bit. Notice how dark they were at the beginning, cold, and they've warmed quite a bit. That's a sign of some weakening. The eye also looked a little better, and now it's kind of ragged. So it does appear to be weakening, but that's a lot of energy pushing up towards the Baja. Definitely want to be prepared for that. So in the final analysis, we have two hurricanes on the left side of your screen. Hurricane Norma. It was a Category 4. It's a Category 3. It's expected to weaken and impact areas of the Baja tomorrow. We have another Hurricane Tammy, which is kind of on the way up. It's a Category 1. Shouldn't strengthen much beyond a Category 1, but still be a hurricane. It's just to the east of the island of Martinique, headed towards Dominica, Guadeloupe, Antigua, Barbuda, and maybe even St. Martin. The hurricane warnings are out. If you are in those islands, batten down the hatches for Hurricane Tammy. I'm Mike Nasel with the latest on Hurricane Tammy. Please subscribe to this page, and I'll be back more with next time. I'll be back next time with more.